There we go. We recorded the meeting. All right, so let me know if you're here. Just say here. Shelley Entrican.
Here.
Barb Long. Doug Manick. Audra Miles.
Here.
All right, Joe Coffin.
Here.
Craig Boynton. I see your name, Craig, but we cannot hear you. So I guess you can type in the chat if you're able to hear us. Okay, moving on. Hannah Fuchs, David Luders, Mary Patton. Oh. Hold on. I see, Dawn, I see your message. Let me finish off my list and then I'll check my settings. Shamra Robinson.
Here.
Tracy Dowell.
Here.
J. Thomas Howes. Tyler Rogers. Sean Griffin.
Here.
Dawn Harper, and I see that you're here and you sent a message, so I'm going to mark you down. Jody Scott. I see that you're here, but we cannot hear you. There we go. We've got an interesting lag on your end, but I got you down. Angel Marinich.
Here.
There we go. Renee Razzo. Chris Mitchell. Don Rulis. And Greg Cassidy. Let me see if we have one. Great. Looks like we're just short of a quorum, so we'll see if others join along the way. We just need a couple more folks. Okay. All right. We'll leave it for now. I have some other people on the phone. I'm just going down my list. We have Ariel from Snyder Village. Could you just introduce yourself really quickly?
Yes, I am. This is my second week with Snyder Village. I'm filling in for Audrey, who's on vacation.
Okay. What's your last name?
Ufferman.
Ufferman. All right. Got it down. Thank you. Next I have, let's see. Oh, we also have Fran Lewis, who's our new staff member. So welcome to Fran. We have Katie Dedmond of the Western Illinois Agency on Aging. I still see Craig Boynton, but we are not able to see him. Marie, Marie, are you right from Ivysill?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, thank you. We've got someone on the phone. Could you, if someone just joined, do you introduce yourself?
It's me, Rima. I couldn't do it by the other app. It's saying that my access was denied.
Okay, yeah.
Hello, it's Chris Mitchell here.
Got you. Okay, I got Chris and I have Dawn. So now we do have a quorum. Yes.
Okay.
Excellent. Oh, let's see, who else did I leave off? Oh, we have Michael as well from the Tri-County staff. And I see Mary Patton also joined. And we do have Sierra Smith, so she's from the Tazewell County Board, and she is brand new. We hope to get her on the committee by the next meeting. So if you want to say hello, Sierra, you can go ahead.
Hi.
All right.
Hello.
All right. Is there anyone whose name I did not call?
I'm Connie Sheely. I just wanted everybody to know I'm here.
That's right. Thanks for the reminder. I've got Connie Sheely. Okay, I think we have everyone now. We do have a quorum. So we can move along to the public comment. Is there any public comment in the room or online?
Did you want to just mention
No.
that we're in?
Oh, just as an FYI, we do have 3 people in the room. Gabriel from our staff, Ray from our staff, and then Joe Coffin as well.
Okay.
Go ahead if you've got public comment. All right. Going once. Okay, we're moving along. So next on the agenda is the approval of the April 5th, 2022 minutes. Can I get a motion and a second, please? From anyone? Okay.
I'll make a motion.
All right, I got Shelley.
I second that emotion.
Okay, I'll take that. Let's do
Pleasure, didn't it?
excellent. All right, does anyone have any comments on the minutes from April? Okay, well, all in favor of approving the April 5th minutes, say aye.
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 Okay, anyone opposed? Excellent, that motion passes. Okay, so now we're gonna move to agenda item number 4. This is the public meeting for the Transportation Improvement Program document. And I'm going to I'm gonna share my screen here, explain what that is. Give me just 1 moment. Okay, so this is one of our documents, one of our federally required documents. So before I start, could I actually get a motion and a second to open this meeting?
Okay, Mary Patton makes motion to open the meeting.
Thank you, Mary.
Chris Mitchell seconds.
Yes, got you. Thank you. All right, so I'll hand it over to Michael. 1 moment, I'll put this in presentation mode, and you can go right through it. See that, Sharon? Hold on. One minute. Let me fix how this looks. That's how we're gonna do it today. All right, so Michael, if you want to get started, I'll just let me know when to change the slide.
Sure. All right. Thank you. All right. Can everyone hear me just fine?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. So today we're going to talk about the Transportation Improvement Program, which is one of the 4 federally required documents as a metropolitan planning organization. So Tri-County Regional Planning Commission is the designee for the Tri-County region as the MPO. And so as that, we are in charge of maintaining the federal planning process in terms of transportation. And so what the actual TIP or the Transportation Improvement Program is just a listing of all of the federally funded transportation projects within our planning boundary, our MPO planning boundary, which is the urbanized area. The TIP encompasses is from FY23, so starting July 1st, and then ending on June 30th of 2026. It includes all roadway, transits, and non-motorized projects. So we currently have our draft TIP out for public review. The public review started the beginning of this month, June 1st, and will expire on June 30th. The draft document is available on our website, so you can just go to tricountyrpc.org in the upper part of the website. Just click on documents, and then you can search for draft TIP, or you can use the link here in the presentation. The document is also available at the 20 public review sites, which are our local libraries within the MPO. We are having a total of 3 public meetings during this public comment period. We had one at our commission meeting last week on June 1st. The second one is today here at HSTP, and then we're having a third one next week at our technical committee. So go on to the next one. All right, so what is the TIP? So kind of as I explained earlier, it is a listing of federally funding projects. So it has a list of all projects within our MPO region, has a list of all the projects that are federally funded. That includes the project title, the location, what agency is the lead. So is it a IDOT project, a City of Peoria project, a City of East Peoria project, Pekin, and so forth. What the funding sources are, what that budget breakdown is, and then a description of what that project is. So one thing that TIP has to be is it has to be physically constrained. So that means that only projects that currently have funding associated to them are allowed to be within the TIP. Go to the next page, next slide there, please. So what's new in the TIP? So the big new thing is illustrative projects. And so what do we mean by illustrative projects? We mean projects that are currently unfunded, but these projects, the local jurisdictions would like to implement them within the 4-year time frame of the TIP, but they just currently don't have any funding associated to them. So this is kind of new with the new transportation bill out there. There's local legislators have already kind of reached out to local jurisdictions to see what type of projects they would be interested in getting funding. And part of that, part of reaching out to these jurisdictions, they're asking for a TIP number. Well, you typically don't have a TIP number unless you have you're already in the TIP document, and to do that, you would have to have federal funding. So to aid our local jurisdictions and having a TIP number without federal funding, we've created this illustrative project listing. So to be eligible, you have to be located within the MPO planning boundary. All projects have to be in one of our other required planning documents, which is the LRTP, or the Long Range Transportation Plan. And to be amended into the document, so to be added into the illustrative project listing, doesn't require any formal amendments. We can, as staff, can just add that in. We call that an administrative modification. But if we have a project that's currently in the illustrative project listing, but say, the City of East Peoria applies for funding and it gets funded, to move it from the illustrative list into the active TIP that's physically constrained would require formal amendment. And to do that, it goes to our technical committee for recommendation to the commission for the final approval to amend the document to include that project. Next slide, please. So what's also new about the TIP? Well, so typically we just have this nice document that's available online or available at Tri-County in paper form, but that's not used that often. And with the internet, we wanted to be able to have a tool that would be a benefit for everyone. And so that tool is going to be an online map that has all of the projects within the 4-year program mapped out, so you can kind of interact with this map and select the different projects, the different line or point features, and it will give you the attribute or a table that has all the specific informations. So it'll tell you what the TIP number is, what year it's being funded in, where the location is, the funding sources, the funding breakdown, a description of the project, and so forth. So this is not currently available on our website now, but it will be once the document is approved by the commission, and we are hoping to have it approved at the commission's next July meeting, which will be July 6th. But with that, I'll answer any questions. And if you don't have any questions right now, but you think of something later, don't hesitate to reach out to Rima or myself, and we will be happy to answer any questions that you might have about this document.
Yeah, like Michael said, this is kind of behind the curtain for what we do as a metropolitan planning organization. So this might not directly affect all of you, but anyone who's in our region might have projects in this document. All right, so if there are no more comments, I'll give one more chance.
This is Mary. The only comment I have is thank you for the audio, because that video is so small, it's too hard for me to read. So if there's some way to increase the size next time around, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, there is a way on your end. It's kind of hard to describe virtually, but you can basically make the videos of everyone smaller. But if you can't do that, then everything we have we've got a PowerPoint here, and we try to describe it for anyone who just has audio too.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Okay, so if that is the last comment, then I will ask for a motion and a second to close this public meeting for the Transportation Improvement Program.
I so move.
All right.
And I second.
Mary, and was that Jody?
Yes.
Excellent, thank you. I appreciate it, everyone. Okay, so I'll move on to agenda item number 5, which is major survey themes and feedback. I'm going to stop sharing and then reshare just to fix the settings on my end, just to make sure this is shown correctly. Okay, let me see now. I'm going to share it. Just 1 minute. All right, there we go. Got it. Okay, so if you recall, in the past, I have asked many of you to either help fill out surveys or help distribute surveys. There are 4 of them, so these all tie into our HSTP document that we do have to update every few years. And we are in the middle of this updating process. One of the first steps is to collect data, and one way to do that is to distribute surveys. So these surveys that you may have, like I said, either completed or given out to your jurisdictions and folks who use transit. They're actually the same surveys used throughout the state. So if you go to any other HSTP region, it's likely that they use the same survey. So that means that we can take this data if we wanted to and compare it to a different region. We might not see this directly, but if you ever need to compare 2 different regions, then there's a way to do that. So I'm going to go through each of these individually just to show you the responses that we received. And just note that this writer survey has the most, so this presentation is kind of front heavy. So I'm going to do my best to condense the responses because we did receive a lot. If I were to put a graph for every question, then we'd be here for a couple hours, and we don't want that. So for the writer survey, we received 156 responses, which is not bad. We requested that all public transit providers distribute this to their ridership, and they used word of mouth or in-person social media distribution, so we appreciate what they've done there. So also, if you can't read this, don't worry, I'll go through this vocally as well. So one of the first things we did for the rider survey was that we took all of the written responses, so like the open-ended responses, and we sifted through them and we found themes from each one. So altogether, we can now say that the top themes that were mentioned by the writers, the top 3 were insufficient service, they're satisfied with the services, and they have a pleasant experience. So these are kind of broad, and to give an example of what one of these was, so the responses that were categorized within the insufficient services, quote unquote, within that theme, this is kind of what they look like. So if people said, the walk between bus stops is too far, or there are issues with the routes, or accessibility issues with stops, lack of service efficiency, things like that. So these are some examples of the comments we received from riders, and these were both fixed route as well as demand response. So these are kind of mixed in together. So the next slide I have here is some select responses from questions. We asked, how often do you use public transit? And most folks who responded said they use it 4 to 5 days a week. So that shows that they're likely commuters and they're likely dependent on the service. And so that's just something to note as we move forward. And we also asked, are you able to travel everywhere you'd like within the community? Most people said yes, but about a quarter said no. Then we asked, what obstacles prevent you from using services more often? The great majority actually said there are no obstacles, so that's good to hear. But then other folks said that their hours of operation or the cost of fares are limiting. Again, this is over multiple different services, so we could examine, for example, who said cost of fares and see where they live to recognize what type of service they take. So this question, the next one, we asked them to rate their overall experience for things like affordability, ease of scheduling, reliability of service, and they could rate it all the way from excellent all the way down to poor or very poor. And most people rated it as excellent or good. Those were the top two. So that was good to hear. Okay, so that was the first survey. We'll move on to the next few. We've got agency. So I directly contacted our agency folks on this call and on these committees and requested that they fill this out. So I appreciate that. We got 9 responses. We did get a representation from across the region, so it wasn't concentrated in one major area. Some of the responses were that most organizations operate about 2 to 10 vehicles. There was kind of an outlier with 60. Most clients, we asked, do you need medical transportation outside of the county? Do your clients need this? And 75% of people said yes. So that's outside of the county. There's a question of what type of service is most needed. And the most identified one was the door-to-door demand response for seniors and people with disabilities. We asked how much should we charge per ride. Most people said $3. And finally, the top destinations within the county, we happened to get the most from Tazewell and Woodford counties. So they said Washington, Metamora, and Eureka. And there were other responses there too. So we asked, how can we improve public transit? And there's the top 4 we can see here, and I bolded 2 of them. Number 1 was expanded hours of operation, and then number 4 was affordability of service. I selected these from the top 4 because these were also mentioned in the rider survey, so there are some parallels as well. They also mentioned we would like expanded service outside of town and better coordination between providers. So we asked, what types of trips do your clients need? And the top 1 was actually shopping, and the next few were medical, inside and outside the county, and just family friend visits. So you can see there's things that folks need, and there's kind of quality of life aspects of it too. Okay, so moving on to the final 2, and these are pretty short, so the last 2. So we received 8 responses from our public transit provider folks around the region, and we did get, there wasn't a concentration from just one part of the region. So some of the key themes here, we did the same thing that we did with the rider survey. All of the open-ended questions, we sorted into different themes. So the top one here was coordination and networking with other operations, different comments about experience and outreach and maintenance. Short today, but I can send you more information if you'd like. We asked, what are the barriers to coordination? Most people were satisfied with the existing program, and other folks said funding and not enough equipment. So those are constants, really, that are brought up during this meeting. We've got the final one here, community survey. To be honest, I would have wanted more responses. We only received 8. These are folks that either ride the bus, or I should say use public transportation, or don't. This was just for the general community. But we'll take what we can get. So from those few responses, we found that most people drive as their main form of transportation. They don't use public transit. But we asked another question, are there trips that you cannot make because of lack of transportation? Most people said yes, so there's a gap there. Most people said they would ride the bus if it was available to them. There are pockets of the region that do not have public transit. And they did select bus as the highest chance of what they would use. And we asked, when would you use public transit? And they said during typical work hours, so Monday to Friday, 7 to 5. And they are willing to pay about $2 per ride. So I know that's a whole lot of information to give you right now, but I just wanted to show you a snapshot of what type of feedback we received from the community. Does anyone have any comments or questions here initially? Okay, perfect. We will move along to the next one. And here I will ask for your participation if you could. So I mentioned this in the email. There are essentially what we're doing, we're updating our HSTP document. And part of that document is a set of goals and objectives. And so I kind of want to see what you all are wanting to do in terms of goals. So if you have a smartphone or you're in front of a computer, you could participate virtually. If not, that's okay. This is just kind of a test of the system, so don't worry if you cannot. But if you can jump in. So before we start, there are 3 questions, and the base of the questions are basically, where are we now? So kind of explaining the challenges, what we're dealing with. And then where do we want to be? So that's the solution. So where are we now? Where do we want to be? And finally, how do we get there? Implementation. So you don't have to go too in depth. This can be even a few words, but we'll see if this. It's not. Let me make sure that this is connected. And actually, it's not connected. It's not working on this laptop. I have to download a plugin. Shoot, that's too bad. Okay, well, actually, we can do this remotely anyway.
Are you saying the mechanism is such, Rima, that you ought to be able to see their input?
Yeah, there's a plugin that's not downloaded on this computer. That's fine. We'll do it live. So I'm going to add a slide here. And we're going to replicate this question. What are some challenges you see in your community? Okay, so we'll do it a little different than I was anticipating, but that's fine. If you're able to type in the chat, you can, or you can unmute yourself and just say what you're thinking, and I'll make a list here.
This is Connie Shealy. It's not really my community because I had to move from it, but I see there are some areas in the outer county area that are still underserved.
Okay. You said outer county?
Yes, like Creve Coeur, Marquette Heights, North Pekin, South Pekin.
Thank you.
I'd like to add that We Care does provide service to South Pekin, so I don't know of any other transportation service that does.
Thank you for that. I didn't know that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Excellent. Let's see, I see someone wrote something in the chat. We've got challenges bus routes, sidewalks in lower populated towns. Yes, I'm actually just gonna copy and paste this in here. Again, don't worry if you cannot see my screen, I'll still kind of narrate these as we get them. Bus routes, sidewalks. We have some specifics here: Washington, East Peoria, Grange Road. Go, got those. Does anyone else think of any? Here we are. Well, here's one more. Pedestrian accommodations for crossing roadways. Yeah, that's a good one. Because you do have to walk. If you're taking a bus, you do have to walk. Pedestrian. All right, we're getting some in the chat. So we've got not able to serve gray area and rural on nights and weekends in Peoria County. It's definitely an issue. That's one of the gaps that I mentioned before. We have, let's see, connecting bus stops to existing sidewalk inventory. Loss of one of our healthcare providers. Oh, interesting. Let me open that up more. Loss of one of our healthcare providers in Galesburg, which was Cottage Hospital, has created a large increase in requests for medical transport needs to Peoria and Quad Cities. We currently do not have the staffing and equipment to service all the needs. All right, I'll add that to my list. And I think I saw, oh, here we go. We've got a driver shortage. Yes. That's definitely something we hear a lot. And I did receive some responses in advance, so I'm looking off of my own sheets here. Someone said transportation to life-sustaining treatments. They were referring to dialysis, but really anything, so to life-sustaining treatments. Medical transport overall, yes, definitely. And I'll put that in the same bullet.
Okay, yeah, you just give it to the driver. Hi, Rima. This is Tracy with MSW Projects. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we struggle with is we are having more riders needing to have transportation for going and coming home to from work. And so we're not able to provide that because we are pretty booked on taking people for other things. So that's an area that needs some help in our area. The other thing is too, we have had an influx of nursing homes. Either they don't have enough transportation or don't have any, or it's very expensive. So we have come into experiencing a lot more people from nursing homes needing transportation as well.
Okay. Thank you. Got one more in the chat. Grange Road is undetermined. Doesn't need sidewalks, just bad on vehicles. I don't know if this falls under our jurisdiction, that's fine. I'll put Grange Road. And on vehicles.
So if we're talking about Grange Road in East Peoria, there is they do have a an application in to redo that road and add pedestrian accommodations as well. So that is kind of underway.
Excellent. All right. Well, in that case, this looks like a really good spread, so thank you. We'll move along to our next one. So this was the challenges, or we just answered the question, where are we now? And I will make a new one for where do we want to be? So I have a new slide here. So how did I word it before? I said, what solutions could solve these issues? So remember, we have two more. This is the where do we want to be, and then how do we get there is the next one. So this is kind of the next step, but not quite the end. I think I saw someone mention a solution. Yeah. Hold on. Let's plug this in before my computer dies. Okay. Someone mentioned a solution. I'm looking back in the chat. Here we go. One of the solutions was to have bus routes in Tremont and Washington and sidewalks that lead to grocery stores. So I'll copy and paste that here. Can anyone think of solutions that could solve either the issues that we mentioned or just anything else that comes to mind? So let's see, we had some of these kind of trickle into the solution category. We've got training programs for bus employment. We'll add that. Communities paying into the system to have services. Right, because some of the gaps that exist in our community might be solved by doing that. We've got expansion of service area and hours, and more ideas for funding. More funding options.
How about alternative, like more transportation options?
All right. Right, yes, because we talk a lot about buses, we talk about ADA, paratransit, but there are other things like microtransit, potentially. Oh, there we go. Inventory of existing assets. I think let's do one more here, and then we'll move on. Let's see, we got one in the chat. It could be beneficial if larger buses could be added to CVP. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Because currently the Consolidated Vehicle Procurement Program is limited by the type of vehicles. Oops, that didn't copy. There we go. All right, I think that's a pretty good list. And finally, we'll move on. This last one is similar. Oh, here's one more. Commuter route picture. So that someone said commuter route. Yes, definitely. So last one is how do we get there? And at this point, I do realize that we've probably answered this question, but if you have any other notes, we'll throw it in here too. So let me see how I phrased it before. We had, how can we reach these solutions?
Hey, Rima, I may have missed it, but where does like micro transit come in? Was that referenced earlier?
We said that in the last.
Okay.
In the last one.
Okay, I just didn't.
But yeah, like these kind of trickle into each other.
Yeah. So they can be on. they can also be on several of your answering your questions.
Right.
Right. One thing to another.
So we have one response in the chat, utilize transportation bill. So that is big because that's something that could provide significant funding. We're still kind of working out the logistics of what that means to us in our region. And speaking of which, we've got regional consensus. I'm
Partnership building.
Oh, yeah, that goes along partnership building. And I'm looking at some of the responses that folks gave me in advance. So we had get state and federal legislative support for change. That's kind of a heavy lift, but I mean, change has to happen somehow.
I got this. It's kind of all three of them combined.
All right.
It's probably way out there is what you're looking for.
I mean, I can take it afterwards.
But
I'll add it to my list.
yeah.
You got anything you want to say?
Some people might be interested in it. I don't know.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so from my perspective as the manager of vehicle operations, vehicle acquisition has been my biggest problem. And I think an answer to that may be education and access to information. For example.
Could you put yourself on mute? We've got some background noise. Not sure where that's coming from. Okay, I'm gonna mute everyone. Oh, okay, we got it. Thank you. Go ahead.
Just continue where I left off?
Yes.
Okay. For example, when I accepted my current position 3.5 years ago, I inherited a fleet of 30 vans in various states of decay. Many of these had long since met IDOT's replacement requirements of age, mileage, or both. My biggest challenge has been keeping these vans running and safe for the clients that we serve. Vans being frequently out of service has had an impact on our ability to provide the level of services that we would like to provide. Historically, our agency, for whatever reason, has failed to apply for replacement vehicles that we were eligible to apply for. My best guess is that this is due to a lack of education or access to information. And also along those lines, more generally speaking, the idea of access to information might be relevant to this discussion because there are probably a lot of people in the community who are not aware of all the public transportation options that are available to them.
Yes, I like that. So I'm writing down educate personnel regarding grant applications and educate, you said, the public about different options. Thank you. All right, this sounds great to me. If you can keep thinking of them, please feel free to put them in the chat and I'll save them afterward. But just to make sure we've got enough time to finalize our agenda, I'm gonna move along. Oh, we got one more. I'll squeeze it in. It would be great to have a seminar on alternative fuel build-outs. As a rural provider, the recent federal grants seem out of reach within the infrastructure in place. Excellent. I'll add that to my list. Oh, there we go. Okay, I'm gonna move along. Like I said, you can keep typing in the chat or even just email me afterward. That's not a problem at all. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen here. There we go. And let's go through the provider and agency updates. I'll go down my list, and then I know we've got a couple new people even just joined, so we'll try and grab you at the end of the list. So we'll start with Shelley. Do you have any updates with FCRC or FCRT?
No, I don't have anything.
All right, moving down to Audra Miles.
Nothing at this time.
Okay, next person I've got is Craig Boynton with the City of Galesburg.
We're just patiently waiting for grants to get approved so that we can start moving on some equipment. We're finding even for the buses that they're running about probably 30% higher than what we anticipated.
Ooh, okay. Thank you. All right, next I've got Mary Patton. Have any updates? Ooh, we can't hear you. I think your audio's cutting out, Mary. Yeah, it looks like you're unmuted, but oh, I'm sorry, we can't hear you. If you want to, you can call me afterwards. That might be the easiest thing. If you want to type in the chat, that'll work as well, but feel free to call. Sorry about that. Okay, now next on my list is Shamra. I saw her leave. I think she came back. Do you have any updates?
Good afternoon. Yes, sorry about that. Somehow I lost connection. So we just been going over areas that we have moved bus stop locations from the COA to align with the requirements for NEPA, which is the National Environmental Policy Act for ADA compliance on our fixed routes. Been working with Angel Rima and Jim Bremner for the 5310 Washington 6-month pilot that will start August 1st. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, there was some audio issues, but I think it's better now.
Okay. So just been hearing something again, but working with Angel Rima and Jim Bremner for the Washington 5310 6-month pilot that will start August 1st. And I'll leave that to Jim to talk a little bit more about it. I don't want to steal his thunder on that. Providing rides in the Washington underserved areas will be our focus. And then also we had our CBP Consolidated Vehicle Procurement public hearing late April to hopefully receive a couple of chassis county link vehicles in the future. And that completes my report.
All right, thank you. And actually, Jim, since I see you on, do you want to just give your report right now?
Sure, go ahead. Okay, on August 1st, we'll begin our paratransit mobility challenge transit rides provided by CityLift in the Washington underserved urban area, which is the city of Washington plus adjacent populated pockets. This is an area that's already served for persons age 60 and older through Agency on Aging in Peoria. But for ages 18 to 59, there has never, ever been a service for that here in the city. So this is brand new, and it's really highly anticipated by a lot of the people in need. It's supported by those people at different meetings we've had with the city and township, et cetera. So we're all really excited about it. It should be good. And I really think that CityLift is also going to be able to help out Agency on Aging if Agency gets behind, because they have such a large territory that they're trying to cover and they have limited resources. So I think CityLift will be a big plus for that as well. So as far as applications for riders, they'll be going out this week and next. We'll also through publications, and we'll also have them available on the website for the township and the city. And we'll also have the printed ones out to all churches in the locations, service points such as the OSF and Unity Point clinics locally, and other providers that where people would travel to. So it's really exciting. It's finally coming to fruition, and can't thank enough for all the partners involved.
Excellent. Thank you, Jim. So I'll keep moving on my list. I've got Tracy Dowell with MSW Projects.
So Marshall County submitted their CVP application. We're hoping to get one new big van and 2 minivans to replace some of our fleet. As far as our applications go, we have ran into some hiccups on our 5311 application, but it's things that Mark needs to update, and so we're working on getting that done. We're still trying to spend all of our CARES money, so we've been kind of busy the last couple months. Oh, and we've also hired 2 new drivers, so we are pretty much, I would say, back to pre-COVID rides. In fact, maybe even busier, because we have found a lot of the medical facilities, along with the people, are kind of playing catch up from COVID. And so that's kind of resulted in some more trip denials, along with, we have a driver out for medical leave, and we are upon summer vacation season. So hopefully things kind of simmer down and we become more stable with having 2 more new drivers.
Sounds like a double-edged sword there. Thanks. Okay, next I've got Sean Griffin. Are you still on? Maybe not. So he was with We Care. He must have jumped off. How about Dawn Harper? No, I know she was on as well. Oh, is that you, Dawn? I saw somebody just
Yeah, I'm here.
There we go.
Sorry, I'm here. Nothing really. Again, like she said, that we also applied for the 53 ton CVP plant. So we actually applied for 4 vehicles. Currently, right now, Epic has kind of shut down our doors to our individuals due to a precautionary of COVID. We're planning to open back up on the 13th. We've been closed now for about a week and a half. It's just a precautionary of the COVID. It's been kind of high lately. I don't know if it's because of the holiday or what was going on. But other than that, everything's been going okay. It's inspection time for us, so we've just been trying to get our vehicles inspected and dealing with the day-to-day transportation needs.
Excellent, thank you. Next, I've got Jody Scott with Advocates for Access.
I don't have any updates. Thank you.
Okay. How about Angel Marinich with TransDev?
Good afternoon. So we've just been working with Epic on their shutdown of some of their riders and making that work. We're really excited about the Washington project, which is set to begin August 1st, as Jim was mentioning. We're really fortunate that people are starting to apply more and be ready to work. We are almost fully staffed in terms of drivers. COVID has reemerged itself with our driving staff as well, but we are making our way through, and we're just moving right along. But things are improving. Our on-time performance has significantly improved over the past couple months, so we're really excited that we're starting to get to our pre-COVID levels. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Angel. Last on my committee list is Chris Mitchell. Do you have anything to share?
Not at this time, thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Okay, so I'll move on to all the other folks who are joining. And let's see, I've just got written down here. How about Connie Shealy? Do you have any updates or comments for us? I don't know if she's still here. Maybe she dropped off. Let's see. So we did. We had Jim Bremner. How about Marie Argubite? Are you still on?
I am. Yes, I'm here. We really don't have any new updates.
Okay. How about Katie Dedman with the Western Illinois Agency on Aging?
No updates.
Excellent. Okay, I also have John Corey. Welcome. Do you have any comments you'd like to give just about any transportation updates. I see that he's here. Maybe he's not able to talk. Let me check the chat. Yeah, so he's a transportation advocate for the region. All right, John. Well, if you have comments, you can always call me. And I believe that's everyone. Did I miss someone that wanted to share?
Hi, April. It's Renee. Sorry, Rima, it's Renee.
Oh, hey, I didn't see that you joined. Sure, go ahead.
Well, right now we are still actively looking for drivers. We went through a phase where we had our longtime driver retire, and then we had drivers on medical. So it seems like it's kind of something that's out there that we need eligible candidates to apply and trying to get them in the door. We're also gearing up for our 20th annual golf tournament, which supports our New Year's Day home delivered meal program. That's going to be out at Metamora Fields on August 19th. So if people are interested, let me know. Aside from that, we've had a couple vehicles that have been down that I think they've been having issues trying to get repaired. But and for some reason, like Tracy was saying, we've just seen like the numbers for requests for transportation keep growing. Can't really nail it down. I don't know if it's because they've had cars and it's just more expensive to drive now, or like she said, there was a backlog of people not going to appointments because of COVID. Now they really need to go and get to their appointments. That's currently where we stand.
All right, sounds great. So since we're right at 1, I'll just skip on over to my HSTP coordinator report. I'll take a couple minutes. If anyone has to leave, this will be recorded, so you can always watch the last few minutes. So agenda item 8 is my coordinator report. So I've got a few things going down my list. In late April, we held a strategic planning session, and that was open to the public. It was regarding just planning long-term goals for what Tri-County Regional Planning Commission would want to accomplish. And one of the hot topics was transportation, specifically public transportation. So that seemed to dominate the conversation. So that was good to hear in the sense that there is interest in expanding the system and just making it more efficient, but also, of course, frustrating because it's not that easy to do that. But that's why we meet. So that was my first item. Moving along, many of you mentioned the CVP applications, so thanks for submitting those if you did. I've been working with IDOT to help with the grading process a little bit. They do not know exactly when those will be released, but they want to thank everyone who applied so we can help distribute vehicles for anyone who needs. My next thing here is there is going to be an ADA celebration and resource fair. This is going to be hosted by the Greater Peoria Mass Transit District ADA Committee. I sit on this committee, and I'll send a poster so folks in the room can see it, but I'll send it out to everyone. So this is, if you would like to attend, it's July 26th from 5 to 7 p.m. That's a Tuesday. And there's a website about that as well. So that's just an FYI. Let's see. And my last thing is the Open Meetings Act training. So those of you who've been on the committee for a long time, you have already taken this training. It's an online training that you do. It's through the Illinois Office of the Attorney General. That website was down for maybe over a year, which is kind of incredible, but it's finally back up again. So any newer folks, I will be sending out a link for you to please fill that out. That's a one-time thing, just to educate folks about the intricacies of the Open Meetings Act. All right, with that, I will move on to number 9, other. If anyone has any quick updates, we'll squeeze them in at the end here. Does anyone have any other? All right, Excellent. Well, with that, I will thank you all so much for your attention. I know that virtual meetings can be a little bit challenging sometimes, but this one was very effective, so appreciate it. And I'll go ahead and adjourn. Thank you.
Thank you.
Say, Rima, I wasn't going to mention this because you're kind of